In the modern electronic era of digital cinematography and real-time monitoring, an old-fashioned light meter might seem like a bit of a relic. Light meter is an absolute requirement when shooting film, of course, but it's also a handy addition to your video toolbox, provided you know how to use it. In this episode, we're going to take a look at this often overlooked little device, show you how it works, and more importantly, show you how it could be used in a modern digital studio to save you time and improve the quality of your video. This is TechKnow. Walk into any room, flick on the lights, and look around. Most rooms are conveniently illuminated for humans, but of course the amazingly adaptable human visual perceptual system is not a camera. Even in relatively dark rooms, your pupils will dilate and you'll be able to see and get around just fine. The question is, what will your camera see? Light meter's a pretty basic device. There are a couple of ways to use it. One way is to point it at your subject from the camera's position and take a reading of the reflected light. You get a very good idea of the illumination of your subject as it will appear on camera this way. Of course, you can also do this with your modern digital video camera as well. We'll get back to that in just a minute. The other way to use the meter is to use this diffusion bubble dome sensor or lumisphere to measure the incidental light directly from the position of the subject. While both kinds of readings are useful, measuring incidental light with the meter calibrated to your camera is going to be the most useful for most videographers. Before we get going here, let's pause for a moment and take a look at the light meter itself. Like all video gear, light meters range from very expensive to cheap. Cinematography models that work with frame rates, shutter speeds and angles and perform readings in foot candles or lux might start at $500, for example. We're using a $260-ish Sekonic L358 for our demonstration today. Even the most expensive light meters will need to be calibrated to match your camera, however. For film cameras or even digital still cameras, the light meter is standardized and it's relatively easy to dial in your settings and get an accurate reading. But digital video cameras don't use film, and most don't have ASA or ISO film ratings, so we're going to have to perform an initial calibration. To do so, we'll need a standard gray card, which you can get from a photo shop for about $3.50. First, light up the gray card, point your camcorder at it, and zoom in so that the gray fills the frame. For this example, keep your camera's shutter speed at 1/60th for NTSC video or 1/48th for 24p work. Dial the shutter speed in on the meter. Now turn on the auto iris or auto exposure and let the camera settle on the proper settings. Take note of the f-stop that it settles on, which is the ratio of the aperture diameter to the diameter of the lens. Next, hold the meter against the gray card and use the incidental meter to take a reading of the incoming light. Finally, adjust the f-stop on the meter to match the f-stop reading on the camera. When you get done, take note of these settings, especially the ISO and f-stop, so you can dial them back into the meter in the future. Many meters like this one have a memory button that can save these settings internally. You now have a pretty good idea of the ISO equivalent film rating of your camera. Many video cameras let you adjust the electronic sensitivity of the CCD with some sort of gain control, which would directly alter the ISO calibration. When you boost the gain on the CCD to make it more sensitive, you will also increase the amount of noise in the image, which is at least analogous to the coarser grain of higher sensitivity and higher ISO film stocks. So our light meter is now calibrated to this particular camera and can tell us something useful about how it'll behave in a particular scene, lighting setup, or situation. I'm sure you can see how this would be a necessity when shooting film where you don't get immediate real-time feedback on what's actually being recorded. But it's probably already occurred to you that you don't really need a light meter for videography, since you can adjust the exposure in real time and see the results through the viewfinder or on the LCD monitor. And in fact, a digital video camera with an exposure meter or zebra stripes, or better still, connected to a waveform monitor, is by far the best and most accurate light meter you could ever possibly find. So why would we need this light meter at all? In this age of digital image acquisition and immediate feedback, honestly, you don't need a light meter anymore. The premise of this segment, however, is that a light meter is not only a useful tool for modern videographers, but that it will also improve your video. First, for those of you who simply want to improve your craft, you can learn a lot about your camera, even if you just borrow a light meter from a photog friend of yours and perform the calibration routine. If you're already into still photography, this could really be a remarkable revelation for you. Second, a little handheld light meter is extremely handy to have when scouting locations, planning shoots, and when setting up. We're talking about pretty serious cinematography techniques here, and serious cameras are very cumbersome to lug around and set up. For those of you using small, convenient consumer camcorders, bringing the actual camera along with you to scout a location and plan a shoot is a much better idea. The calibrated light meter is also a brilliant tool for lighting designers during setup and for maintaining location consistency between shots, angles, and scenes. The final reason to hang a light meter from a lanyard on your neck when scouting, planning, or shooting is that it looks really cool and professional. If you've actually calibrated it properly for your cameras, you can wear it as a medallion of honor, representing mastery of the meter and all that is good in life.